Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
And you're watching Tesla Time News.
Episode 156.
Next on Now You Know. Now, why is it so special, Jesse? 156 seems like a weird number.
156. If you divide that by 52, which is how many weeks there are in a year, keep in mind this is a weekly show. Let you do the math.
Yeah, it was 3 years ago
3
today
years.
that we started the show, and we haven't missed a week.
It used to be on Tuesdays. We moved it up to Mondays because Brent and Bobby have gotten even better at editing, and you have all made it possible. Thank you so much to our Patreon supporters who make this show possible and have made it possible to do for 3 years running.
And to our friends at the solar-powered hotels in Schaumburg, Illinois, the Fairfield Inn and Suites by Marriott, and the Town Place Suite Hotel right next door. They're both connected, and they're both solar-powered. And as always, every week we've got new designs on ecoware.us. I'm wearing a new one this week. Pretty cool. Fly me to Mars. I don't know if I would go to Mars right away. And maybe just give you the t-shirt. I don't know. Not sure.
I'm going to Mars.
Okay, I'll give it to you. But we carbon offset the manufacture, shipping, and life cycle of your purchase, and we plant a tree for every order. So surprise, Jesse. China's industry minister has posted an update on its website adding the Tesla Model X, the Model S, and the Model 3 to its list of exempted items for the state's 10% sales tax.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Tesla just announced a 3% price increase across its entire lineup to cover the increased cost of tariffs, but this sales tax reduction will more than cover it.
So how is this possible? How did they do this at the exact same time? Was it coincidence?
Take a look at this picture here. It's a meeting of the Chinese Minister of Transportation, Li Xiaopeng, and see if you look really carefully there on the right. Who is that?
It's the Minister of Oh, wait. Elon?
It's Elon. He's in the meeting.
Sitting there in the meeting. He's the only non-Chinese person sitting in the meeting.
Yeah, he didn't bring his whole entourage or anything. He just came in there. I think he knows how to negotiate pretty well. I think he probably came in, he sat down, and he was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, guys. We're trying to figure out how to make the car affordable because of all the tariff problems."
Oh, that's terrible. What do you mean? What?
Oh, well, you know, Chinese-American trade tariffs, it's making the cars more expensive.
Oh, well, maybe we can do... Dave, what do we got? What can we do?
We could put their cars on the website for the sales tax exemption?
Yes, that's what we'll do. Elon, don't worry about a thing. We got you covered. 10% state tax. Get rid of that. We don't need that. Yeah, Elon seems to be really good at negotiating in China, as evidenced by the fact that he is the only outside-owned factory in China. It was built practically in a day. Obviously, that's not true, but I mean, it was built extremely fast.
Speaking fast, I mean, look at these pictures that were released from inside the Gigafactory 3, showing they're actually like testing out the Model 3 production line as we speak.
Right. So, I mean, this is crazy because, I mean, it was earlier this year that it was just a muddy field, and now there's actually a factory there. And yet Elon he's just really good at negotiating. As evidenced by all of this stuff. So as we talked about last week, Tesla has just announced their insurance company that they're just started. Yep. I mean, it's still part of Tesla, and it's just starting in California at the moment.
Yeah, and I want to thank many of you who answered our call and sent us your Tesla insurance quotes along with what you're currently paying. It's been a real mixed bag. I've been hearing from viewers. Some it's been higher premiums charged by Tesla. Some it's been lower. So if you could keep, commenting below or sending us your quotes so we could, see which is lower. But keep this in mind. Send us apples to apples. So quite commonly, when you go for a new quote, you're given a certain amount for injury and so forth. Make sure that those numbers line up with what you currently have, or else you're not comparing the same numbers.
Right. If you get a much higher property damage, coverage limit, it's going to be more expensive than if you have, a lower one. And it's also important to, are you on a bundled plan with a bunch of other cars, and also maybe like your home and life insurance, because that may also lower your rates.
Right.
And Tesla currently doesn't offer bundled plans outside of just Teslas.
Now, it's important to mention that when there is an accident on Tesla insurance, Tesla's going to have to pay for the accident. They're going to have to pay for the car. But a large portion of the car, about 25% of the car in some cases, is software. If you have, the full self-driving package.
So not physically.
Right, but the cost of replacing it is the software cost.
So the value of the car
is
some of it is just It's just
code.
just ones and zeros.
So-
Like you can just send that.
Right. So when they're replacing your car along with the motor and the this and that, they just have to give you a software update.
Right. It's not even that difficult. It's not even like they have to, give you the 12, CD-ROMs and you have to, install autopilot on your Tesla. It's like, please insert disk 4. You don't have to worry about that. It just is over-the-air update with software.
So one of our viewers, Russ Fugal, he is running for Congress in the 3rd Congressional District of Utah as a Republican, and I was lucky enough to be able to interview him because his platform is very pro-environment. Check this out. Carbon pricing is awesome in the sense that it starts us on the right path and it starts us thinking about the cost of carbon, but I think what you're saying is obviously if I could snap my fingers and make your plan happen, I would do that because you're absolutely right. Leave that carbon in the ground. There's no reason to take it out in the first place, and we have alternatives now. And I know that you're going to get a lot of pushback from people who are like, what? Outlaw it? What are we going to do? But I think you're absolutely right. The market will find a way. The market is quick to solve problems like that. That's one of the things we're great at here in this country is, you need a solution? Here's a solution.
The quick solution, the capitalist solution, is to just outlaw the burning of fossil carbons. But what I like about the Green New Deal is it centers that just transition. If we were to outlaw the burning of fossil carbons, a lot of people on the right are correct that that's going to cause pain and suffering. And so when they go a little bit hyperbolic about, if the Democrats have their way and the Green New Deal passes, millions of people are going to die, the economy that the fossil fuel industry has propped up has brought a lot of people out of poverty, but this is a temporary thing. As the climate crises grow worse and worse, and as our ability to extract fossil fuels becomes a bit more and more expensive on the margins, then those gains are going to vanish, and all of us are going to be worse off. So I like the Green New Deal because it centers this idea that it's not just about banning fossil fuels, because that's going to cause a lot of pain. But there's things that we can do to make sure that this transition is equitable, that it's just, and that everybody can actually benefit from it.
Now, what would you say to people who are watching anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, actually, who might be thinking like, yeah, this is pumping me up a little bit here. I'm hearing things I wouldn't normally hear from a candidate. I'd like to become a candidate. What would you say to those people who are thinking of being candidates themselves? Is this something that's attainable by the average person?
Yeah. If you live in a blue district, in a Democratic district, get on that primary ballot and run on a Green New Deal, because I believe you will win, because it is so popular. I think the polls out there say 60% of Americans support a Green New Deal. Now the polls also say that 80% of Republicans oppose it. And that's my difficulty here in my district, is trying to change those minds. But if you live in a blue district and you have a congressman who doesn't talk like this, challenge them. And at the very least, you're going to change the conversation, and maybe you'll win, and you can actually weigh in Washington, D.C.
Nice. I love that message. That's really powerful. So yeah, he's going to introduce legislation that burning fossil fuels in 5 years will be against the law.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yep.
So over the weekend at the WAIC Shanghai AI conference, billionaire Jack Ma, founder of Alibaba, and Elon were on stage talking about AI, of all things.
Yes.
And it was a little uncomfortable to begin with.
Usually for these events, you have an MC who's like, ladies and gentlemen, to the stage is Elon Musk and Jack Ma. Today we're going to be discussing blah, 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 blah. Then they introduce them. They're saying, they kind of get them started. Then they kind of fade into the background as these two guys talk. And maybe, the MC comes back out to ask some questions, where it seems like they just sort of had like a PowerPoint presentation where they just would point at something and be like, you want to talk about that? Okay, let's talk about that. And it was very hard to kind of get into the discussion because it's just sort of their thoughts. They don't have to answer any sort of question.
And it seemed like a mismatched two people, because it didn't seem like Jack Ma really wanted to talk about AI. He really kind of just wanted to talk about like prosperity in the next 100 years.
Yeah.
He hadn't really given it that much thought. Whenever he did talk about AI, he called it Alibaba intelligence. So that was weird. But, Elon had a lot of great quotes. One of them was that AI will be vastly smarter than AI researchers, vastly. So basically, he was saying that, everyone who's thinking about AI today, they're dwarfed by what AI is going to be.
Right. And he went on to talk a little bit about Neuralink and how we should become even more sort of cyborgs than we already are. Because he was arguing that, you are a cyborg. You have a little rectangle in your pocket that you interface with. But the interface is kind of dumb because you're using your thumbs and your eyeballs. But it should be, implanted in your brain. The phone is kind of like a part of your body. He said if you forget your phone, it's like a missing limb.
You're saying that our inputs are getting faster. We can watch videos and get more information in faster, but getting information out is very slow. He likened it to a tree. He said it'll be like talking to a tree. That's humans trying to talk to AI in the future.
Right, because trying to convey information with our mouths, you might be keeping up with us. You might be like, okay, these guys are moving at a fast enough pace. But a computer would be like, the bit rate of these guys is just, oh my God, I'm falling asleep over here.
Anyway, there's so many things about this we want to talk about. We're going to move this over to the Patreon bonus stories. So if you want to see the rest of our coverage there, head on over to Patreon and check it out. So later on this week, you're going to see an interview on this channel with Energy Geeks. This is a company that helps you get solar on your house because they know everything there is to know about it.
Yeah, but I mean, getting solar in your house is really tough because anytime you're talking to basically anyone who knows anything about solar, they're trying to sell you their product to put on your roof. So is this just another one of those things where it's like it's the salesperson who's just constantly hounding you and saying like, oh yeah, this system will be great. This is the system you want.
This is why we're partnering with Energy Geeks on this channel, because these guys know a lot and there's no pressure. They ultimately would love to get solar on your house, but if it's not a good fit for you, they'll be the first ones to tell you that. So I interviewed them to make sure that they are who they say they are. And we have the full interview coming out later this week, but we got a couple minutes here for you to check out.
Our whole job is to help people go solar. That's how we market ourselves. That's what we do. That's all we focus on. And the way we do that is really doing all of the sort of energy consulting work, the analysis of what kind of panels you need, how much power is really needed, how should you finance the system, should you finance the system, really that sort of decision making. We really have streamlined that whole process, and we are, I think, pretty knowledgeable about different types of panels and different technology. We're a little geeky about it almost, and people have to stop us from going off on rants about microinverters and things like this. So we really know what we're talking on that side, and on top of it, because we're set up the way we are, we're all digital, all remote. We work with multiple different local and national and regional installation companies to get the actual projects done. And the value of that is that we're able to be there through the project. So a lot of solar companies are not set up this way. They got a field guy going out to your house or something like this, and you get a nice experience in the beginning. But then if there's any issues, you have a harder time getting a hold of that person because you can't text and drive, right? And so for us, we've got our workstation, we've got all of our access to all of the different projects, our whole fleet of projects we've helped. And that's why I think we give people a better customer experience over time. And because we do everything digitally, we keep our costs so low, we can actually offer some pretty premium panels that are normally priced higher. But because our kind of cost is so much lower, we can really provide a really good value for people.
Neat. So they actually aren't installing any solar on your roof. They are simply finding you the best solar installer for you.
And the difference is, when you talk to a solar company, that guy you're talking to probably gets a commission to install that company's solar on your roof. And if they don't offer what you need, he's going to try and sell it to you anyway. These guys work with tons of installers all over the place, and so they're going to find the best match for you based on your budget and your situation. So this is a weird story, Jesse.
Yes, it is.
Hamden, Connecticut mayoral candidate Lauren Garrett was going out to dinner Saturday night in her Model 3, and she was joined by her husband and 2 kids in the family's other car, which happens to be a Tesla Model X. While they're at dinner, a thief stole their Model 3, and when they came out from dinner, they tracked the Model 3 on their app, and they found out that it was a few blocks away. So what did they do?
They called the police.
No.
Wait, they called Batman.
Nope.
They called Elon?
Nope. They got in their Model X, and they decided to track down the thief themselves with their kids in the car.
So they were like a few blocks away, and then they called the police, and then
they didn't call the police. They just went to where their app said the Model 3 was. And when they got there, they decided to block off the street with their Model X so that the guy couldn't get away. And then the guy decided, hey, I'm just driving a stolen car anyway, so why don't I just smash into everybody? Smashed through the cars, drove away. Then they called the police. By the time they got to the car a couple blocks away, the guy had fled. All the cars are now smashed up.
So the moral of the story here is call the police, let the police do their job.
And use PIN to drive.
Oh, yes. Pin to drive. This would all not have happened if you had pin to drive. Let's talk about pin to drive for a second. All Teslas have this feature called pin to drive. This is where you get in your car, and before you can put it in drive, even if you have the key fob and your key card and your phone, you still will need to enter in a pin code to drive the car.
Right.
So even if a thief somehow, clones your fob, or he steals your phone, or he takes your key card at gunpoint, he won't be able to drive the car away.
How did they get her car, by the way?
We don't know, because they didn't catch the guy, because he fled.
I mean, let's go back to the reenactment of the scene here. Your car's been stolen. You're kind of upset.
I mean, I can relate to this. I would want to track this guy down, and I would want to beat the crap out of him, right?
I totally get it, except he could be armed.
It's true.
He's got your car, which he doesn't care about, so he'll just use it as a battering ram.
And it's a good battering ram.
And you've got your children in your car.
Right.
And you're like, come on, kids, this will be fun. It's Saturday night.
The kids were egging him on.
Oh, you think?
Come on, Dad, get him! Get him, Dad! All right, so there's this new factory in China. It just opened.
What does it make?
It's going to be making electric cars.
Oh, I know about this factory. Yeah, everyone on the channel knows about this factory.
Yeah, but I mean, it's a really nice looking factory.
Yeah, no, it's pretty nice. I mean,
Yeah.
it's like white and black and looks cool.
No, it's really like futuristic. It's got these undulating curves on the outside of the building, and the interior is just like this. And it's like a little bit of brutalism, but not too much. It's this beautiful.
What are you talking about? We just saw pictures
design.
of it. It's just a factory inside.
No. I'm talking about the Polestar 1 factory.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the Giga 3 factory. What's the Polestar 1 factory?
The Polestar 1 factory is in Chengdu, China, and it just opened. It's making Volvo's Polestar 1.
Oh, okay.
The Polestar 1 is a hybrid, and they're going to be making about 500 of them per year.
Oh, that's right. I blocked this one out of my head. I keep thinking of the Polestar 2, which is going to be the all-electric version. The Polestar 1, you're right. They're making just like 500 a year. It's going to cost $160,000.
Or up to $180,000. It'll have a 34 kilowatt hour battery pack, and so it should be rolling out to customers by the end of this year. But here's the weird part. The Polestar 2, which is the all-electric car, will not be made at this factory, but will instead be produced in Lukwao, China. So my question is, why did they make this factory to make 500 Polestar 1s a year?
This factory's gorgeous. Like,
it's beautiful. So I'm trying to figure out.
It seems like it's like a movie set or something.
It's really like all the pictures that we've seen of it are really clean. They're really, everything looks really sharp. Nothing looks heavily production, because obviously they don't need to make that many cars. They need to make like 2 a day.
I got it.
What?
Superhero. It's going to be a superhero movie. They're going to shoot it here. It's Polestar. And then Polestar 2 will be the sequel.
Maybe.
They're going to make more on the movie than they are on the car.
Well, I mean,
500 cars.
So Volvo, of course, is owned by Geely, which is a Chinese company.
Yeah, this is very confusing, because there's Volvo that makes the trucks and stuff. They're owned by a Swedish company,
yes.
Volvo. But this Volvo was bought by Geely. They bought it when Ford used to own Volvo, and then Geely bought it from Ford.
Right.
So, yeah, this is a Chinese company.
So what I think, this is just pure conjecture. So, take this with a grain of salt. But what I think is that they want to build this factory. It's very impressive looking. It's very beautiful. They can take people from the Chinese government there to the factory, show them this, clean energy car. I mean, I'm not gonna hide my disappointment for the Polestar 1. This overpriced hybrid.
Check this out. Super exciting. Now, when this video started, I was like, oh, I don't know if we're going to get to see anything. This is the Star Hopper test that just happened on August 27th in Boca Chica, Texas. This is the 150-meter test flight. Now, when it first starts, there's just dust everywhere, and I thought, oh, bummer, we're not going to see anything.
Right.
But then it rises out of the dust.
Yes.
And this is very deceiving, because you're seeing just a test of what's going to be the giant Starship rocket, right?
Right.
This rocket that we're seeing here tested is using one Raptor engine. Tell me about what Starship is going to actually have.
The Starship, like the Super Heavy, the main core, the first stage of Starship, which I believe is called Super Heavy, could have up to 41 Raptor engines.
Oh my God.
Firing at liftoff, which would be just insane, because, I mean, this rocket here is already pretty darn impressive.
Yeah.
So to imagine having 41 of these blasting off at the same time is crazy. So they're basically just testing, taking off and landing, mostly the landing part. The landing part is the hardest part to do with a rocket. I don't know how many of you have landed rockets before, but
it's only been 6 years. As he tweeted here, can't believe it's been 6 years since our first vertical landing.
Yeah.
And yet we're already jaded. I bet most people saw this and were like, oh yeah, I've seen that before.
Cool.
100 times.
Right. We're so used to Falcon 1s landing on drone ships, coming from orbit where you're just like, you're looking down and you're like, oh yeah, you see that pixel right there? It's going to land on that pixel.
Yeah.
It's like half a,
And it's rocking.
Right. Yeah. It's on the ocean. So yeah, we're all pretty much used to this by now. We're like, well, whatever. But this is super exciting. They're going to, actually have this engine on the Starship. I can't wait.
All right, so it seems like every week we hear about a new battery tech company that started up, and this is no different. A lot of you emailed me a link to this and was like, this is incredible. This battery's going to charge in 6 minutes.
Yeah.
And yes, we're super excited too, except I do want to remind you guys of something. We've been doing this for 3 years, and I don't recall ever hearing about one of these startups actually becoming an actual thing yet. So you got to take all these stories with a grain of salt. This is no different. This is Dr. Jean Delavipier. He went to King's College at University of Cambridge. I'm sure he's super smart. He claims to have come out with a new compound 2 years ago that would replace graphite in a battery, and then he formed a company called Ekiom. Now, he says about this new battery, this is a new kind of powder which allows you to recharge in 6 minutes, not 45 minutes. This includes a car, so your electric car is almost as easy to charge as it is to refuel conventionally. The problem with the usual powders is that when you fast charge them, they can cause an explosion. With the new material, which I can't tell you any more about, it will accept fast charging with no safety hazard, unlike graphite. We are working on methods to make powders which are scalable and where 1,000 tons could be made quite easily in factories. So this sounds cool, but I want to remind everybody that he didn't talk about weight, density ratios. He didn't talk about what this material is or how expensive it is, how expensive it might be to scale up, whether or not there's any companies that actually want to put this in a battery yet.
Whether this would affect the range of the batteries, whether this would affect the life cycle of the batteries, like how many cycles it can actually go through. All of these different battery technologies are very exciting, and there's no reason to be super down on any of them, but you have to keep in mind that until they are being produced in a factory at scale to be made into electric car batteries, they're not there yet.
Right.
So it is exciting. This could definitely turn into the battery of the future. There's no denying that. But we don't know. There are so many companies, and we just picked one this week. But this week there were a dozen, and you hear about them all the time. They're like, oh, there's this new graphene battery. There's this new solid state battery where they use chicken egg shells and they make a battery out of it.
And the good news is that with existing technology, we can do what we need to with electric cars.
Right.
And the other good news is I'm sure there are better batteries coming.
Yes.
All right, it's time for the lightning round.
All right, so we get a lot of messages every week, and a lot of people are interested in I'm starting my career. I want to do something that helps the environment, that prevents climate change. What can I do, Zach and Jesse? And it's always a little difficult to answer that question because, I don't know what your interests are. I don't know what kind of education you've had. And so it becomes a job for either Zach or I to kind of work out what would be the best thing. And chances are I'm going to be like, you could be a solar installer, or you could be a solar representative.
Or go work for Tesla.
Right. Those are the things that I know of what to do.
But check this out. This is Climate Careers. It's a webpage full of possible job careers for you, and you can search it by area. You can search it by interest. Really cool. And it's not like one of those sites that only has 3 jobs on it. There's lots of jobs here.
So if you're interested, I would suggest that you head over there. If you're starting out a new career, or if you are, changing careers, take a look.
Ohio-based Fifth Third Bank Corp. That is the weirdest bank name I've ever heard. They set a 100% solar power goal for their operations back in 2018. And guess what?
What?
They got to it 3 years ahead of schedule. So that makes them the first U.S. bank and Fortune 500 company and the first publicly traded company on Earth to offset their operations with solar. They built a $200 million, 80 megawatt, 350,000 solar panel system in North Carolina, making over 200 megawatt hours of electricity. So here's my thing. You guys all have banks, right?
Yeah, I don't keep all my money in a mattress.
Yeah, so we all put our money in a bank. Let's put our money where our mouth is. Let's put our money into banks that are doing the right thing. If a bank like this is actually going to be carbon offsetting all of their operations, let's reward them by putting our money in their bank. Here's a town that's doing the right thing. Check this out. This is Bargersville, Indiana. Their police department has 12 police officers and...
And a superhero?
Nope. Well, kind of. A supercar. They now have a 2019 Tesla Model 3 police car.
Wow, that's pretty cool for such a small town.
The police department says the new Model 3 will save $20,000 over the next 6 years. This Model 3 costs $39,500, a little bit more than the department's Dodge Chargers, but they project they'll spend $1,700 a year on electricity versus over $7,000 a year on gas for the Dodge Charger.
Wow.
The department also said the Tesla is cheaper to insure than a Charger, and Police Chief Todd Bertram said, "It's a pretty amazing car. This is not rocket science. Everything is cheaper about this car, and it's better." Bertram says he hopes that all of the department's Dodge Chargers will be replaced by Teslas in the future.
That's awesome. And the best part is that Tesla Model 3 is the safest car.
Yeah, now there's more we want to show you about this, so we're going to show you that on the Patreon bonus stories because there's some footage I can't share with you here, but I think you want to see it. So here's some sad news. In Stuttgart, Germany last week, 2 young men, 21 and 20 years old, they were tourists from Belgium and they were visiting the city. They were killed by gasoline fumes leaking from a jerry can in the trunk while they slept in their car. So basically they were visiting the city to save some money. They probably slept in a parking lot. And when people found them, they were killed by just the fumes of gasoline.
I honestly did not know that you could die from gasoline fumes. To have something that you would put in a can in the back of your car.
Yeah, I mean, I used to do it all the time. You fill up a can of gas to get, for your lawnmower or something.
Right.
You put it in the trunk. You don't even think anything about it.
I know.
Some good news, though. The Model 3 interior is now 100% leather-free. The steering wheel used to be leather, and now going forward, Tesla says that the Model 3 steering wheel will be vegan leather.
And all Model 3s have had vegan leather seats
Since day one. And if you want to change your old leather Model 3 steering wheel out, I think it's a $500 charge from Tesla. So our friend Remy in Belgium let us know this week that it looks like Tesla has been bursting the 120 kilowatt charging speed all over Europe.
Now more than 400 superchargers in Europe are pumping up to 150 kilowatts. This is awesome.
What's so cool about the story?
Yeah.
Is that no one else covers this story. When Elon says he's going to do something and he doesn't, everyone covers it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not done until he's a week late.
Right.
When he does something amazing like this, and this truly is amazing, crickets. You don't hear any other news outlet cover this. Why? I guess because it's not fun. So in the first half of 2018, renewable energy here in the U.S., wind, solar, hydro, biomass, and geothermal, was 19.9% of the entire electricity grid. The first half of this year, it went up a little bit to 20.11%. So that's good news. We're in the right direction.
That's such a tiny amount. Who cares?
Well, let's look at nuclear. Nuclear energy in this country is 20.14%, or 400,000 gigawatt hours. So we're neck and neck now between renewables and nuclear energy in this country. And what's interesting I saw here is that small-scale solar, which is basically rooftop solar, had a 19.9% increase from last year and was responsible for 32.7% of total solar generation. In the first half of 2018, renewables were making 74.6% as much power as coal. In the first half of 2019, renewables are making 85% as much power as coal. So you can see a huge increase in the amount of energy that renewables is putting out compared to coal. And that is because coal is dropping and renewables are rising.
So Tesla has filed a patent called intertile support for solar roof tile, which describes a way to create a joint between the tiles.
So in the patent application, it says, to facilitate scalable production and easy installation of PV roof tiles, a group of tiles can be fabricated together and jointed in a rigid or semi-rigid way. Carefully designed spacers inserted between adjacent tiles are needed to facilitate the joining of adjacent PV roof tiles. Elon said earlier this year that they want the Gigafactory 2 in Buffalo, New York, to put out 1,000 roofs per week by the end of the year.
Right.
I don't think producing them is the problem. I think putting them on people's roofs is the problem, because generally it takes a roofing crew just 2, 3, 4 days to put a traditional roof onto your roof. I think what they're having problems with here is the Tesla solar roof takes a lot longer to install on most roofs.
Right, because most roofs, you're up there, you got your knife, you got a nail gun.
Actually, that reminds me of my first roofing job. They said, Zach, go get the ice and water. And I was like, great. I went, got a whole bunch of water, brought it up, and they just laughed their heads off because that's not what ice and water means.
Ice and water
This
shield.
is what ice and water
Ice
is.
and water shield.
Yeah, each roll is like, I think like 50 pounds.
Yeah.
And you throw it on your shoulder and you climb up the ladder and you just keep getting them all day long.
And then 20 years later, your back is completely ruined. So installing a Tesla solar roof is a little different because you're not just, you're actually, wiring them all together to collect the solar energy.
Right.
So I think that the problem that they're running into is that, if you want to do 1,000 roofs per week, that means you need 1,000 crews to put a roof on everyone's house in a week.
Right.
And if it takes 2 weeks, you need 2,000 crews. And if it takes 3 weeks, you need 3,000 crews. And if it takes 4 weeks, you need 4. The faster you can put it on the roof, the cheaper it's going to be.
So
for
I think
Tesla.
this patent is to be able to put together more of the panels. So instead, a panel is normally like this big. I think they want to be able to put together a lot of them so that you can just plunk down one big sheet on the roof at a time and save the amount of labor.
Right.
You remember these two cars, Jesse, the B1 and the B2 by Bollinger.
Yes.
The B1 is that Jeep-like one, and the B2 is the pickup truck one. Well, those are going to be revealed on September 26th. They were supposed to be in production by late 2019, but they'll be revealed in 2019. And we haven't seen the pricing yet. That's going to come out on September 26th as well. Bollinger is partnered with Optimal Incorporated in Michigan to bring this to production.
I don't have anything bad to say about these trucks. If that's the kind of truck you want, that's definitely the kind of truck for you.
Oh, I mean, the fact that you can put a 14-foot like 2x4 down the middle of the truck, that is a cool feature.
That is a really cool feature.
All right, it's time for our video contributor stories, and we've got Jose Servin and his new 3-car EV family.
Hello, Zach and Jesse. This is Jose Servin, and this is my 2017 Bolt EV. Very fun to drive, has sport mode, and they have the 7 kilowatt onboard charger. This one is black. And then the one that my father traded in for the Honda CR-V 2014 with 50,000 miles. With now this one, bam! 2017 LT Bolt. Low mileage, great price. These things you could pretty much find them for about $25,000 or so. Both vehicles actually. Depends on the location, how much you want to drive. And then Nissan Leaf 2013, the first vehicle I got. It's so awesome. I love it. It has Chatamo. It was a good deal. You could get these for about $6,000, $7,000 or so. It has 11 kilowatt hours or so, approximately. Depends on the weather and condition. But man, I also added in these remote fog lights. I use them in the cut. See, remote, boom, boom, on and off. You could probably turn these off like a block away or so if you have attached another antenna to this thing. But I love the seats on the Nissan Leaf. I was planning on adding a different liquid-cooled battery pack to this thing. Probably a Tesla charger as well. Who knows? Might do that to this thing, to these two Bolt CVs. Have a UMC to Tesla. I do carry the Tesla 240 Tesla tap for both vehicles. Sometimes it depends which one we go on mostly. But 60 kilowatt hours is a big difference between now holding 11 kilowatt hours to passive cooling, liquid cooling. It's great. DC quick charge. It's cheap to fill up. I did in this black Chevy Bolt 347 miles one way from over there, and just spent like about $20 on DC quick charge. That's it. All right, Zach and Jesse, now you know.
That's pretty cool.
Nice.
3 EVs. All right, it's time for the Patreon bonus stories. Now, remember, if you're kind of new to the channel and you're like, what do they keep talking about the Patreon bonus stories? I don't see anything. Yeah, you got to head over to Patreon, and the link is down below, where you can become a supporter of the show. And for as little as $1 a month, you can watch all the Patreon bonus stories you like. And we got so many this week.
Absolutely.
See you there.
It's a Patreon bonus story.
All right, and we're back from what I believe is, and don't quote me on this, I believe it's the longest Patreon bonus story we've ever done. It was definitely going to be longer than this
I think
show.
there's like a dozen stories. It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, it's time for our Patreon shout-outs. These are people who support us with $5 or more a month. Who do we got this week, Jess?
We have Rob Walker,
Michael Harris,
Scott Stegerwald,
Donald Jackson,
Neil Powell,
Stephen Hewitt,
the Tallahassee Electric Vehicle Club,
and Alexander Lakotsinen. Thank you guys for supporting us. Really do appreciate it. All right, it's time for Elon's Tweets of the Week.
This is just a great meme. If it needs explaining, it's not funny, I guess. So I'm not even going to bother explaining it.
And this tweet from Wade Anderson, I think all the preferences and settings in a Tesla should be linked to a personal profile, such as regen braking, etc. Someone changed stuff on mine once while checking out my car. It took me a while to figure out what was changed and fix it back. Elon said.
Coming soon, version 10.1 at the latest.
Now, I think that if we were the VPs of special operations,
This would have already been taken care of.
we would have put a couple interns on it.
Yes.
And I think what we're going to do for everything, actually, when we're made VPs, this is at least what I'm going to do. I'm going to just tell the interns in the morning, anyone who gets this job done gets to take the Model 3 tonight. All right, it's time for community mail time.
Community mail time.
Remember we talked about zero waste event productions and how they clean up after events? This was an interview we did a couple weeks ago. Well, Kevin just wrote to us and he said, today I had my first volunteering experience with zero waste event productions at the Tough Mudder event in Rockford, Illinois. I don a protective apron designed and sewed by Shannon herself. Next, the ZWEP team brought me up to speed quickly on the sorting line where I sorted with one hand and cranked the manual belt with the other, keeping my wits most of the time. Next job, with grabber in my right hand and a 5-gallon bucket in the other, I walked the grounds, picking up the small adhesive covers that attendees peeled off from their entry wristbands, as well as other improperly discarded trash. It was the most zen-like thing I've done in a long time. While wandering around the grounds, I got to talk to a few folks about what ZWEP was doing at the Tough Mudder event, and my contact to them through your NYK podcast interview with Shannon and Tyler just a couple weeks earlier. In the process of doing so, I passed out a few NYK business cards too. Thank you for bringing such great interviews to the podcast, and thank you to Shannon and Tyler for letting me be a small part of their great mission. That's from Kevin in Wisconsin. Thank you, Kevin, for playing your part there. That's awesome to hear.
Yeah. So if you live in the New England area and you love raffles for prizes and cash, test rides and drives in electric cars, please put our buddy Jeff's Electric Vehicle Show on your calendars. Saturday, September 28th, from 2 to 6 at the Hebert's Candy Mansion in Shrewsbury, Massachusetts. There'll be over 40 vehicles there. There will be pizza. Hebert's sells candy, fudge, and ice cream. We're going to be raffling off some of our EcoWare t-shirts. Signed t-shirts at this event.
Now, our friend Andy wrote in to say that he spotted this Renault Zoe EV police car in Madrid last week. This is Matthew's new Model 3. Congratulations. And remember we stopped and had lunch in London, Ontario, Jesse, back on our Model X road trip 3 years ago?
Yes.
It's a really cool, college town. Well, our friend Jeff wrote us to say, in my town, a drunk driver was driving 150 kilometers per hour and slammed into a house, severing a gas line. The entire neighborhood had to be evacuated. The gas leak ignited, vaporizing 3 homes and condemning 9, and the windows were blown out of about 100 homes. Thankfully, no one was killed, but 6 firefighters were seriously injured. Wouldn't happen if cars drove themselves and we didn't use gas to heat our homes. Looking forward to a clean, autonomous future.
Yeah, I mean, these are things that can happen.
And do happen.
It's just, and we just like to pretend that it won't. It's terrifying.
Our friend Barbara sent us this video about the RFID located in the charge port door of her Model 3.
Hi, Zach and Jesse and fans of the Now You Know channel. Barb here reporting on a small problem we're having with our Model 3. So what it is, the charge port door has this small piece of plastic that has fallen out of this little spot way up here. So we've called the Range Rover over to do a quick service call to re-glue that. And it's really not that we couldn't have glued it ourselves, but more it's letting Tesla know that this is a problem, and take a look at your charge port door in that upper corner and make sure that your piece hasn't fallen out. From what we understand, it's a bit of a magnet or part of the opening process and could cause you problems, but possibly not. So now you know.
So in 5 minutes, the guy had fixed it. The Mobile Ranger came out, and she says he hung around, he chatted with us, answered all our questions. This is what totally sets Tesla service apart from old school service garages.
Right. The fact that you don't have to bring it anywhere is just splendid.
Our friend Robin wrote to us to tell us about this website in Quebec province, Canada. It's called IVEC, the Association of Electric Vehicles of Quebec, where volunteers visit people who want to learn about electric cars. Now, Robin has already visited 3 people, which resulted in 2 sales, and he's not sure, but there might actually be a third one. So if you live in Quebec province and you want to learn more about EVs, just go to this website. It's in the show notes below, and enter your location and the car you're interested in, and you will get a no-pressure test drive.
This is a great system. I think that would make a huge difference for a lot of car buyers.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that could be a great scalable solution.
Our friend Lincoln took this video of what looks like a semi-truck exhaust parade in Pataskala, Ohio.
Gross. This is gross. And we're going to look back on this, and we are going to cringe. We're going to look back on this like it was lead paint or it was smoking.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to be like, they did that? But why did they?
And they were
do
honking.
that?
They were proud of it. Like,
Right.
yeah.
Like, it's just poison. They're just pouring poison all around them.
There are over 280 National Drive Electric Week events scheduled in cities and towns throughout the U.S. and Canada for the week of September 14th through the 22nd. Some are even in New Zealand, Taiwan, Mexico, Belgium, and Australia. So check out the website below to find an event near you so you can either bring your electric car or help out or see some EVs and learn more about it. Now, we did a poll this week to see if you're planning on going to a National Drive Week event, and what do people say?
Well, it was basically split 50-50. A lot of people are bringing their electric cars. Some people want to actually go check out some electric cars. Other people are going to be staying home.
Here's Marcelo's new Model 3. Congratulations.
Nice.
Looks good in white. And it's time for our on-air question of the week. And so we've got Steve's question here. What does he have?
Do you think it makes any sense to have a Tesla resuscitation where you can charge another Tesla with yours for a boost or a dead battery? Yes.
I love it.
That's a great idea.
I mean, it's vehicle to vehicle, and also I think it should then also be vehicle to grid.
Absolutely. I mean, just to have a little plug on the side of your car that you can charge up.
Why can't they do it? I mean, is there like a DOT, Department of Transportation reason, or is it just because it's technically a hard thing to do?
Let's be honest. With the Tesla, I've never, ever run into a situation where I needed this.
And I mean, I guess it would come in handy. I suppose if something went wrong, like we heard about a few weeks ago, a guy had to park on someone's lawn and plug into his house. Like, I suppose you could call up your buddy with the Tesla and he could come over.
It takes just a little bit of planning, to not have to do something stupid like that.
All right, the results of the poll this week where we asked, would you switch to Tesla insurance for your auto insurance if the quote was actually 20% cheaper?
Most people said that they would be switching over. Some people said that they weren't. So I'm assuming that they just really like
hassle.
I think they like their insurance agent.
All right, it's time for good news, bad news. What do you want?
Oh, let's start with the bad news, I guess.
All right, the EPA announced last week that methane regulations will be weakened. According to the Washington Post, the proposed rule will reverse standards enacted under former President Barack Obama that require oil and gas operations to install controls on their operations to curb the release of methane at the wellhead and in their transmission equipment, including pipelines, processing, and storage facilities. As you know, methane makes up 10% of the U.S. greenhouse gas emissions, and most of it comes from oil and gas.
Why would you do that? Why would you be like, wait, you know how you have to, control, make sure that you're not leaking methane into the air, because that would be like a big fire hazard, and also just you're leaking methane into the air.
It's because they're the Corporation Protection Agency. I'm sorry, the Environmental Protection Agency. The good news is we reported on the Amazon fires last week, which are still going on, and how we should pressure Brazil's President Bolsonaro with trade sanctions. Well, Europe did that. They threatened to ban imports of Brazilian beef, and then Bolsonaro backed down on Thursday, announcing a ban on fire to clear land in the Amazon for 60 days and sending in 40,000 troops to fight the fires.
I don't know if I believe Bolsonaro.
Why? Seems like a trustworthy guy. He's, what's his name again?
Captain Chainsaw. I don't,
Captain Chainsaw here. Why don't you trust me? Well, also, he's sending in troops to fight the fires. They're just troops. They're not firefighters. So, like, what are they going to do?
They're going to pour water on it, maybe. I don't,
No,
I'm sorry. I don't trust it. I don't trust people like that. It's just...
All right, well, so you need a little more good news is what you're saying.
Yeah, that was not good news.
All right, so according to Business Insider, Ecosia, the search engine where it plants a tree when you search, well, they saw a 1,150% increase in downloads on August 22nd in response to the Amazon fires. Now, Ecosia's daily download is usually around 20,000. On that day, it was around 250,000. So they're going to be busy planting a lot of trees.
Right. I mean, and I guess this is the good news is that with with any piece of bad news, there is going to be that little bit of backlash where people are going to either, wake up and be like, oh my gosh, this is a problem. Or they're going to be like, all right, I'm finally going to do something about this to change the world.
We got a lot of letters that said, Zach and Jesse, the Amazon is not 20% of the oxygen in the earth, and your math is wrong. It's more like 6%. And you know what?
Like, okay, cool. Like, great. I'm glad that you wanted to waste your time researching that. And it's like, okay, yeah, of course the Amazon rainforest will breathe it back in because that's how life works. But like, that's not the point. That doesn't matter. Like that's cool. And like, sure, I did say that so that way you might care. Like, I don't know what the fuck you want me to say so that you actually care about the Amazon rainforest. Right. But like, we should all be caring about it regardless of how much oxygen it produces or not. I know that most of the oxygen in the world comes from algae in the ocean. Right. And the oceans are also in trouble. Burning the rainforest doesn't help that either. Right. So let's just stop with the semantics and get on board with making positive change.
All right, positive change a lot of times comes from Superchargers.
Yes,
so let's get in there and check out what we got for Supercharger reviews this week.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Zach and Jesse. Lise here from Phoenix, Arizona. I'm charging my Tesla Model 3 at a solar-powered charging station, Supercharger. Yeah, so it's a beautiful day here in Phoenix. Lots of cars here behind me. Some shopping, some food right over here, as you can see. I guess I would rate this probably a 9 out of 10. It's got some food, some shopping. My favorite part, of course, is solar powered, baby. And now you know.
Hey, Zach and Jesse. I am at the Evanston, Wyoming Supercharger. This has 8 stalls, as you can see here, and it is right off the freeway, which is very convenient. And it does have one charger spot over there for Model X's pulling trailers. But there is nothing in the way of food or really much services here. It is in the parking lot of this Hampton Inn, but otherwise there's really nothing here for restrooms. So I would probably give this a 3 or 4 out of 10.
Hi Jesse and Zach, here is Mario again from the next Supercharger review. I'm here in Ulm and it's right south in Germany and it's next to the Autobahn. I show you the Autobahn. So it's 1 minute, it's 30 seconds away from the Autobahn. It's a 14 stall Supercharger with 4 Model 3 priority chargers. There is a hotel with a restaurant, there's a Burger King, and there's a petrol station. That's it. It's right next to the motorway, so it's a perfect place to quick charge. And here we have, even in the Model 3, we have 119, 120 kilowatt. And so it's a very fast supercharger here in Germany. So I give it a 9 out of 10. There are some things missing here, so it's not a 10 of 10, it's a 9 of 10. So now you know.
Thank you, guys. That gives me just a little boost I need. Thank you.
Yes.
I appreciate
After
that.
that terrible good news, bad news section, which is...
Hey, it's hard to come up with good news, man.
Oh,
it is
God.
hard. All right, it's time for new Superchargers this week. What do we got?
We have the 18-stall urban supercharger in Austin, Texas at Stone Lake Boulevard.
We have the 10-stall 150-kilowatt Supercharger at Incline Village, Nevada.
And number 693 in the United States, number 1,620 in the world is the 12-stall 150-kilowatt supercharger at Placerville, California.
It's been a couple weeks since Europe and Asia's seen any, huh? It's kind of unfair.
Well,
Maybe they'll get their fair share. All right, it's time for our Patreon giveaway. It's your chance to get an EcoWare t-shirt of your choice. Remember, the EcoWare is where we offset all of the production, shipping, all of that, and then we plant a tree for every order. So if you're the lucky winner, that's because you're a Patreon and you got your name in here. So who's our winner this week, Justin?
Alexander T. Nelson.
Congratulations, Alexander. You just won yourself an EcoWare t-shirt. And you made it to the end of the show. And
Congratulations.
And so what's cool about this week is that tomorrow you're going to get to see, if you want to, if you made it to the end of the show, you don't need to see this episode actually, but this episode tomorrow will be our first shortened version of Tesla Time News. It's called Tesla Time News
Bite-sized.
Yeah, so that'll be coming out on Tuesdays, and that's because a lot of you have written to us and said, hey, Zach and Jesse, I got a life. I don't have time to listen to an hour of you.
You could watch the show in double speed. I know that I talk kind of fast sometimes, and so that might be a little difficult. But
or 1.5 times.
I like watching things at double speed because I feel like I'm a super smart guy.
It actually does. It trains your brain so that later when you hear things at normal speed, you're just like way ahead.
Right. And everyone sounds drunk. You're just like, it's so weird. You listen to anyone at double speed, and then all of a sudden they're like, so today we're going to be looking at this stuff. It's really weird. But anyway, we've condensed the show down into a more bite-sized, watchable format. But also so you can share it.
Yeah, and also we need to hear from you if it's the kind of thing where, that's what you're going to be watching exclusively, or whether maybe if you find something you're interested in, you'll go back to the full show, or I don't know. We need to learn. It's been 3 years.
Right.
We need to keep experimenting and.
But we didn't want to shorten the show down to 15 minutes because this is not what the.
There's
we
a lot of news.
Talk about things.
Yeah,
we need to communicate all of the points all the way through. It's not just this is what happened and this is what happened. And thank you for watching. But good night. Right?
But what we'd like is for you guys just, it's going to take a few weeks to get used to whatever. Right. Try it out, see if you like it, see if you don't, let us know. But don't get too upset about it. Right. We're here for you. We're not going anywhere.
Hopefully, hopefully we've grabbed the stories that are the most shareable stories, so you can share it with your friends, and they're not going to be scared to see a 1 hour and 15-minute video.
Right. They're not going to think that you're entering them into a new cult.
They're not like, oh no, 1 hour and 15 minutes. I don't have that much time in my life. A 15-minute video, you're like, okay, the end plate's probably going to be 5 minutes.
I'm dying to see how Brent and Bobby and Jack and Zach can do it. So
yeah. And I just, another big shout out to our editing team, because this is 3 years for them as well.
Yeah.
When we started Tesla Time News, we knew that, when we started this YouTube channel, we knew that we could not edit all of our videos, or we would stop the YouTube channel because we would not want to do that. Right. We both have other jobs. And we didn't have the resources or the time,
or
really,
the skill,
or the skill,
or the talent.
Yeah,
these guys know what they're doing
to edit together our videos. Yeah. So a big shout out to Brent and Bobby, who have been editing our videos the entire time.
Yep.
Since
day one.
Day one. You can go back and watch Tesla Time News episode 1.
There they were.
They were editing the video, but basically every video on our channel.
Yeah.
But there hasn't been.
Yeah, we have almost 800 videos on our channel. It's crazy.
Crazy.
Yeah. And you guys have been with us, some of you from the very beginning. So Thank you so much. We're so excited to be celebrating our 3rd year anniversary and many more years to come.
Thank you so much for watching. Now you know.